everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we are here with our book club episode, Kingdom of Ash, week 4, chapters 61 through 80. Yep, just wanted to double check, make sure I had that right. I'm excited to jump into this one. We have a lot of good book bits to talk about today, Ellie.
I'm sad. I think it's going too fast. And I'm excited to talk about another book, but I'm sad because it's probably not going to be Crescent City unless you all vote on the Patreon that way. But we're probably done with SJM for a bit, and that makes me so sad.
Honestly,
until she comes out with her new book.
Yeah,
then we will be all over it.
I'm not that sad, and here's why. I love Sarah, but no,
that's
hear
crazy.
Me out. I love Sarah, but we still have hot goss episodes where I'm sure we'll be talking about her books at some point. And so for me it's don't get me wrong, I'm just excited to jump into a new series and have be completely immersed in something. I think it's just because of how long we've been doing this. Nothing wrong with that. It's we did it on purpose. There's a lot to go over, but I don't know. I know in the back of my mind, it's not like we're done talking about her or her books forever. It's just
it's just
pausing.
It's an end of an era because we started this. When did we start this? January?
I don't remember, but it was early in 2024.
And it's October now. That's crazy. Anyways, on the note of October, it's October 2nd, and guess what day that is?
Patreon launch day. I just want to say, I feel like I have nailed that sound effect. What is it? Specifically, basketball air horn. I feel like I only ever hear it at basketball games.
That really identifies us as millennials. Although I think we tote the line. You might even be Gen Z, but
no, I am a millennial. Don't say that. Get that kind of trash out of here.
I feel like there's an embarrassment to being a millennial lately. I've seen online people this is millennial humor, and I'm okay.
No, I saw something.
But I also don't have that humor that I see that people are this is millennial humor. I'm that's certainly is. It's not me.
This was directed at Gen Z, not even millennials. But I saw a Stephen Colbert thing where he was talking about some of the new words that Generation Alpha has come up with and says. And one of them was, gosh, I can't even remember. Phantom something. I can't remember what it was exactly. But he used it in a sentence, and then he goes, "You don't know if," or he said "phantom blah blah," and he goes, "Yeah, I bet you're wondering if I used that right, but guess what? You don't know either. Welcome to hell." Because he was just talking about how even Gen Z's phrasing, he called him vintage. And I was it hurt my heart a little bit knowing that I'm not even a part of that generation, and that generation is already being called vintage, even though they're teenagers.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think I relate more to the Gen Z generation, but maybe because we're on the very tail end of millennials. But I think I am technically a millennial. But I don't know.
No, you are. I'm the last year of millennial.
Yeah.
So
Sulavu, I guess.
Sulavu.
Anyways,
all that
it is
to say, our
Patreon. Please sign up. It's time. We have bonus content on there for you. And we are going to move these episodes, our book club episodes, not Kingdom of Ash, but moving forward, our book club episodes over to Patreon. So if you want to stay in the book club, it's time to move.
You know where to
find us.
Also, on that note, because it's October, we have our spooky story submission. So there's a link in our bio, also in our link tree, for a Google form where you can submit your submission. Ellie and I will be reading through all of them, and we will be picking the best ones to read on our October Halloween episode. And if we've
got a few, right, already?
Yeah, we do have some already, and I'm stoked. I haven't looked at them yet because I want to wait and sit down and read all of them.
Me too.
I'm very excited. If your story is selected to be read on our episode, we will send you an official L.A.M.E Book Club pod sticker. And if your spooky story wins the episode, you're going to get a nice little goodie bag from us. So be sure to enter. It'll be very fun. We're super excited for it.
I'm literally so excited. And just a little tidbit. I have my costume picked out, and it is an inception of a costume, and I'm so excited.
I really feel like I shot myself in the foot by painting myself orange last year. I don't know if anything's going to fully live up to that.
I don't know if you can get better than orange. Orange is such a hilarious color. Like, if you painted yourself blue or green, it'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But orange is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right.
I in this moment, I'm maybe changing my mind about what I want what I'm going to be, but I have an idea for a funny. It's not like ha funny. It's like I love that funny. Is my current idea, but we'll see. I'm trying to make it more ha funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a review of the week. Would you like me to read it?
Go for it.
Okay. It says, my new favorite podcast, 5 stars. This comes from JM Park Photo. And they say, there's something about the dynamic between these two. I love seeing best friends start adventures together. I just finished writing my debut novel with my best friend, and I think I found this at exactly the right time, as the parallels in female bonds and the analyzing the romantasy/fantasy genres really resonates with me. It's so fun to hear the banter and laugh along with. I especially love the hot goss episodes, as unpopular sauce tends to be my favorite condiment. Keep up the amazing work, you two. I have a sneaking suspicion I know who this is from, and I have a sneaking suspicion that we are going to be talking about that book on October 16th. So if you have not bought your copy of Riftborn, there is a link on one of our posts, but if not, you can just type it on the Google.
It's on Kindle Unlimited if you have a Kindle. Or it's called Riftborn. If you don't, you can type those little letters in and order it.
Yeah. So the authors are Bree Greenwich and Parker Lennox, and it is one of my only 5 stars in Romantasy this year. It is a fantastic book, so highly recommend, and we will be talking about it soon. So if you want to read ahead, please do so. All right, like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment. Leave a review. All the things.
And next week, we will be doing chapters 81 through 100 of Kingdom of Ash. It is wild to me that is not even the last week, yet we are going to be ending on chapter 100 next week.
I know. Sarah
I digress.
Has a lot to say, I say.
All right. But this week, like I said, it's going to be chapter 61 through 80. So, Ellie, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I need to set the scene here because I'm not going to lie, I really am upset with how we ended the last episode, because I think if we had continued on to these first couple chapters, I would have cried, and I'm not going to because I'm just not in the same headspace. But if you remember last, Lorcan and Elide had just picked up Lorcan, and they were on their way back to the gate, like booking it because the gates were closing and they were going to be stuck on the outside. Yeah. And that's how we ended things. Like we didn't even know if they made it.
Race against time. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But fear not, chapter 61, Lorcan tells Elide that he loves her. Oh, Lorcan and Elide are my favorite couple, I swear. They are. I can't. They are. That's it. He wants to get off the horse so she may ride faster and make it to the keep before the dam breaks. But Elide says, "No way, Jose." They're a mile from the keep when the dam bursts. Aruk deposits Aelin on the plain, and she unleashes the pent-up power inside her, her fire turning the massive wave to steam and saving all of their forces. And this was the first time she's used her power outside of her moment initially after being saved. Because everyone's, even Rowan, remember, was like, girl.
Yeah, like, what's going on? You're going to
do something.
You're going to hurt yourself.
Like, you have to. Exactly. Dorian plans to leave for Morath the following day. Manon asks him to stay and even proposes they marry to form an alliance between Aderlin and the witches. Dorian doesn't believe Manon actually wishes to be confined by marriage. So the next morning, when Manon wakes, Dorian and the 2 word keys are gone. We need to talk about this part for a second. Ellie, when you were reading this part of the book, what was going through your mind? What did you think Manon was serious? Did you think Dorian was overreacting?
I felt like she was serious, but not in the sense of like, oh, I love him, let's just get married. Obviously, it was more like as a duty and, you know, just benefit to both of our people or our kingdoms or whatever. Let's do this thing. And I had so much more respect for Dorian for rather than being like, yeah, I love her enough, like I don't know if falling for it's the right word, but like diving in because he's very smitten with her, realizing you probably don't really want this. But then when he bolted, I really liked where this plot was going.
See, I remember feeling like torn because on one hand, the way Manon approached the conversation, it absolutely exactly like what you said, the way Dorian felt about it, that's how it came off. It came off as like a tactical strategy from two leaders, and it's like, you know what, we might as well, blah, blah. Like, it didn't feel like there was any heart behind it, but we also get her point of view a little bit, and it made me sad because I'm like, this poor lady, like, her whole life has been trained to have no feelings and be one thing, and over the last handful of months, everything in her world has been flipped upside down, and she's starting to try and like listen to herself more and actually act on her feelings, and so we know that she actually would have loved to be with him. She just doesn't know how to handle those feelings and or how to have a conversation like this, so it came off one way, even though we know both of them would have actually been like happy to have done that, but both of them second guessed themselves. Though, because
I think I've watched enough TV in my life to realize when things could get wrong, even though they're right. You know what I mean? So even though Dorian and Manon liked each other, I don't feel like they loved each other yet, but they liked each other enough. I don't think that marriage would have made them both happy at that point in time. Like, I feel like they would have had to really develop their relationship first and foremost to realize, I do want to be with you because I want to be with you. Because if they did it out of duty, I think that could even end up in like I don't know if I love you, even if they are feeling that because they're like, well, we're just married. We just have to be together.
Well,
I think it could complicate things more.
For sure. I think, yes, okay, I agree with the first half of what you said. I actually do think if they had done it now, their relationship... Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think they would have gotten married in this moment. I think it would have happened later. She just was suggesting they do it. But regardless, I do think that there's a chance that they could have grown to resent each other if their relationship doesn't get deeper first. But I feel like it wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is our duty, we have to do this. I feel like, at least for Manon, for sure, she was using that as an excuse to be able to do what her heart wanted.
Yeah.
But
and isn't that whatever. A very funny, fickle human thing that like even two people who are meant to be together, if you push the relationship too quick, too fast, you could end up being so upset when in a parallel universe, had you waited and been like, we're just gonna take things slow, you could have ended up being the happiest ever.
Everyone's so impatient, and I am at the top of that list. So, honestly,
I think I'm right there with you.
All right. Aedion sends out messages on behalf of Terrasen calling for aid. As Morath's army starts winning, Morath catapults the heads of Ansel of Briarcliff's soldiers. The remainder of her army that she had promised was coming to lend aid.
Hold on. Did I miss this part in the book?
You must have.
Do you mean literally?
Yes.
He literally took the heads of her army and catapulted them?
It wasn't like Erewhon himself. It was Morath's army. But yeah, they started catapulting they were catapulting the heads of the second half of Ansel's army that they were counting on to help them.
Yeah.
Morath had intercepted them, killed
move.
them all. Honestly, isn't it though? Like, this was
I'm
so
not
depressing
rooting for them,
to read.
but like,
me neither.
Whoa.
But this was like... I'm not rooting for them, but they for sure got points for this because they got points for that style.
That's a
with this.
Savage move. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. Once again, I'm not rooting for them, but wow.
But am I? No, I'm just kidding.
But
Just then, Captain Rolf arrives with the legendary fleet of Mycenians sailing up the river bordering the battlefield. They wield fire lances that cause the Volg army to flee, buying Aedion's armies time to flee north to Orynth. Irene and the healers tend to the wounded in the aftermath of the battle. The rest of the Coggan's army arrive on foot from the south. Lorcan is healed when he wakes, and Elide is at his bedside. Elide says that she loves Lorcan too, and then they smoochy kiss.
Smoochy kiss?
Kicking my feet in bed, giggling at this point. I was so ready for this. We've been waiting for
They're
books
so back, baby.
for this. They're so back, baby. It was exactly what I needed, and I was so excited for it. The scout returns to the Kraken camp with news that Terrasen has called for aid. Manon, the 13, and the leaders of the 7 great hearths of the Krakens agree to answer the call. As queen, Manon lights the flame of war, and the scout flies across the continent, spreading the eternally burning flame, summoning all of the hidden Krakens to war. I actually
just remind
really
you
liked...
of.
No.
Did this remind you of the intro to Mulan? Now all of China knows you're here.
Oh my god!
Right?
It didn't, but now it does, and that's why I said go first, because I didn't want to put my foot in my mouth and say this. I never read anything like this before, and then have you come and be like, "Isn't this your favorite show?" And for me to be like, "It so is." But I did like this. I liked the idea of, like, obviously, no, I don't know. I like the idea of this eternal flame and it being lit. And honestly, now that you say that, I guarantee you I liked it because of Mulan.
Fire is such a solid symbol. I love that it's Aelin's power. I love that it's a symbol of, like, we are going to war. There's your second Disney reference. And,
there we go.
Yeah, I did like this imagery, but I definitely saw Mulan.
It was definitely giving Mushu. Aelin tells Rowan that before they left Wenlin, she sent letters to Rowan's uncle detailing Maeve's nefarious plans and hinting that the queen might be Volg. She hopes to incite a rebellion in Doranel large enough to dismantle Maeve's army. Hussar, Caution, Sartaq, and their armies decide to go with Aelin to Terrasen. Irene begins healing people infected by the Volg. Aelin wonders if Irene's power... Yep. Aelin wonders if Irene's power can actually destroy Erewhon and Maeve. If so, Aelin wouldn't then have to sacrifice her life to forge the lock. Aelin and Rowan search for...
Wait. We're at this point where you, like, there's hope. Like, and that's our loophole. That's going to be it.
No, because... Well, yes and no. I never for 1 second believed that Aelin was going to die. Even, like, at this point. When the concept of the lock was first introduced and knowing that someone would have to sacrifice their life to forge it again, it never once occurred to me that Aelin was going to die. And I know that's how it was set up. But I'm like, this is not my first rodeo with Sarah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so I, at this point in the series, I was thinking they were going to figure something else out. So, okay, yes, maybe this was the loophole. Mm-hmm. Or I still honestly was in the camp, and I know he's a main character, so this would have been, like, surprising, but I still was kind of on team Dorian sacrificing himself for Aelin.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like that would have been really... And obviously we don't know what happened, but that's just how I was feeling.
I did like that more options were coming into play. Like, number 1, Irene could kill off Erewhon, and we don't have to deal with that at all. Number 2, Dorian would sacrifice himself. Or number 3, and the most unlikely, Aelin would sacrifice herself. Yeah. But if she did, I also, again, this is not my first rodeo with Sarah either. I would bet that Aelin had some way to come back. That's where my headspace was at here.
Yeah, so I was never concerned. I was, like, maybe not quite on the edge of my seat just yet, but I was like very curious as to how it was going to end up happening. But I still, I don't know. I didn't think that she actually was going to.
I think that the feelings I had behind this were similar to, like, when you have a big presentation coming up at school, but you have the whole week ahead to, like, know that it's coming. So you have this anxiety of, like, I still have to get through my everyday school life, but there's this impending event
Doom.
that I'm terrified for. Yeah, and you have to get, like, you're gonna have to get there at some point, and so it sucks that, and you just have it in the back of your mind, like, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that in 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, you know. So I felt like that it was the same energy of that in this situation for me.
It was the same energy. It really was, though, because I mean, we're on chapter 67 at this point, and there's 120-ish chapters. We're only halfway through according to numbers. I mean, there's a lot of book left for things to go wrong or things to change. So certainly was end of the week anxiety at this point. Aelin and Rowan searched the wordmark books from the southern continent for helpful enchantments, but alas, they don't find anything. In exchange for part of Aniel's territory, the wild men of the White Fang Mountains agreed to lead Aelin's forces through the secret paths to Terrasen. Meanwhile, half of the Rook Riders will march along the eastern edge of the mountains to draw Erewhon's forces from the Farian Gap.
Do you remember when Kale's dad was like throwing a big hissy fit about the Wild Fang people coming in? I flipped my table. I was so mad about that.
Let's also take a step back. When was his dad not throwing an entire hissy fit? That was, I feel like, who his character was. His character was the human embodiment of a mentee bee. That's just... He was a mental breakdown in... It's okay.
I have such bad allergies right now. Yes, he was a mess, and he was chaotic, and I hated him.
And mean.
And he was just not, like, getting better. Like, there's, you know, some of the bad guys, they've had little subtle notes of, like, redemption in them. Not him. Just constantly, consistently ugly on the inside, ugly on the outside.
Yeah, never. You're always, like, waiting for that moment where he's like, Kale, I'm proud of you, and then dies or something. Like,
yeah.
I was so on the edge of my seat for
happening.
That. No. All right, but this is my most favorite part of what we're about to talk. We're about to jump into this. This is what we're about to start talking about. If I'm being so honest, I think might be for sure top 3, but honestly might be my favorite part of this book altogether.
Oh, okay.
So buckle up, Buttercup.
Okay.
Dorian shifts into a mouse to infiltrate Morath, where he discovers Maeve conversing with Erewhon. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, there's a lot of snip-snap in this, but when I say my favorite part, I'm talking about what Dorian's about to do.
I picture Dorian as that little mouse from the Tales of Despero.
If you
know, the one with the little
what
sword.
What is wrong with you? Yes. And the little, like, the end of his tail is a little fluffy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's just a little special mouse.
He's a little cute mouse. Aedion's army arrive at Orynth. They've lost all hope at victory over Morath's extensive forces. Sad violin. That sounded mean. It was really sad to read about.
Well, turns out we root for Erewhon now, as of this episode.
Talk about snip snap. All right. Back to the real action. Maeve reveals her true identity to Erewhon and offers to ally with him, now that the people of Dorinel have rebelled against her after receiving Aelin's condemning letters. Maeve offers her spider handmaidens to Erewhon's army to be possessed by Volg princesses. Erewhon reveals his plans to bring his brothers, Orcus and Mantix, back to this world. After leaving Erewhon, Maeve becomes aware of Dorian and traps him. Maeve offers Dorian an alliance. She will permanently rid the world of Erewhon and his brothers in exchange for all 3 word keys. Dorian offered... Oh, this part sent me. I was not expecting this. Dorian offers Maeve marriage and the chance to rule Otterlin in exchange for her spiders joining Terrasen's forces instead. I'm sorry. Come again, Mr. Haviard. What? Especially right after he turned down a proposal from someone he actually likes.
I know.
That was that was what made this even more gut-wrenching, truthfully.
This was such a twist because in no world would I even picture like Maeve and Dorian even being in the same room together. Maeve was always like Aelin's competition, so the fact that He approached her in mouse form. If I would have given you the summary of this in the beginning, you'd be like, we're reading different books. He approached her in mouse form and then proposed to her.
He's not in mouse form still.
No, I know, but then proposed to her. You should have heard that he transformed in between those words.
You should have heard what I wasn't
saying.
That's on you, honestly. Keep up. No, for sure. Especially when... Here's also my thing. I picture Dorian like the beautiful fan art pictures of him. Like,
yeah,
man, shout out to some of you artists out there. You guys, incredible.
You kill
Chef's
it.
Kiss
You nail it.
For some of these Dorian fan art pictures. However, Maeve will forever and always be Mother Gothel to me. So in my mind, I also have a hard time picturing them together because they're not even the same animation. Like, Dorian is a real person. We simply
couldn't have different animations.
We simply could not. It would not work. But like, Dorian looks like a person, whereas Maeve is an animated character from Rapunzel's story in Disney. Like, the limit does not exist. Like, it literally doesn't work. Like, in my mind, I can't fathom. The fact that they're even having a conversation is pushing my brain to its limits with imagining this, like, let alone them getting married. So for that reason
the combination of Dorian and Maeve was not on my bingo card.
No.
And I think that Sarah knew that. I almost feel at this point she was like, who could we not see having a conversation and then mesh them together? And it's one of those like, no kiss.
Exactly. Oh, man. Maeve agrees to his proposal, and Dorian shifts into Elide's uncle, Vernon, who is loyal to Erewhon, to request an audience with the Vault King. Also, this dangerous interaction doesn't reveal anything about their third key's location, but can we talk about the balls on this guy? Not going from, like, 5 days ago, he could hardly shift into a bird. Now he's shifting into people and having full-on conversations with the enemy. Not like, someone from Morath's army. The enemy. I
know we talked about this in a couple episodes ago, but like the fact that this magic was very convenient, I liked it, but now doing this little reread, I don't know if I like it because one book ago he couldn't shift at all. That wasn't a possibility for his magic.
Or 17 chapters ago he couldn't shift at all.
So it just seems a little too convenient for me. I still like it because it's very helpful to the plot, but it's almost one of those like I saw a quote that said you can use coincidence to get yourself, or like accidents to get yourself into a mess when writing, but you can't use coincidence and accidents to get yourself out of the mess. And I felt like that was this. Like, I can shift.
I agree with you now doing this like second go around, but the first time, I think Sarah really just hit me with the 1-2 of them being engaged. The amount of times between now and the next couple chapters where he's shifting, I was just like, so like he's engaged. I wasn't even like comprehending what was actually happening.
The room's spinning around you as you're reading.
So while I agree you can't use coincidences to get yourself out of a mess, I'm actually going to amend that statement and say you can't use coincidences to get yourself out of a mess unless you've absolutely traumatized your readers 5 sentences before you use the coincidence. Because I think then you're allowed.
Yeah.
Nesryn and Sartaq, charged with leading the southern forces around the eastern edge of the mountains, reach the Ferrying Gap, but see no evidence of the Iron Teeth Legion. They relay this information to Aelin's forces traveling between the mountains. 6 Volg princesses are placed in Maeve's spiders while Dorian hunts for the last word key. Maeve sets out to seduce Erewhon so that Dorian can gain access to the Volg King's tower. After Erewhon rejects Maeve's advances... Also, just like 1 second. She was married to his brother. I'm not saying he's clearly scum of the earth, but I feel like everyone has their limits. Like, I don't know what she was expecting to get out of this.
I know.
But that's just me. I digress. After he rejects her advances, Dorian shifts again into the mouse from, what was it? The Tale of Despero? And hides in Maeve's pocket during her meeting with Erewhon. Erewhon orders Maeve to summon the rest of her spiders, though Maeve does her best to delay the order by offering to use her power of creating portals to show Erewhon his brothers. Aedion's armies set a trap for Morath's forces, destroying 2 of their witch towers with underground explosive. The 3rd witch tower is damaged, however, it is still standing. Morath's approaching armies still number 100,000 soldiers.
That's a lot. I'll give it to you.
Ellie agrees with this. That's a lot of people. Maeve shows Erewhon an illusion of his brothers while Dorian shifts into Erewhon and sneaks into the Volking's tower. Dorian finds a woman in Erewhon's bed with the last word key embedded in her arm. And I forgot that this happened, even though I have read this a few times now and even put together this outline. So I'm going to recant what I said a few minutes ago about saying even the scum of the earth has their limits, because it appears Erewhon, in fact, does not. When he cuts the word key out of her, she becomes lucid enough to beg Dorian for death. This was just Sarah really hates us. This was so, once again, so hard to read. There's been so many aspects of this series that are just so gut-wrenching and hard to take in. Yet she continues to put us through this. Yep.
It's rough. Maeve, it's hard. It's hard to read.
Maeve appears, kills her, and then uses her powers to forcibly infiltrate Dorian's mind, bringing Dorian under her control. Plot twist, though, what Maeve doesn't realize is that Dorian has been studying Maeve's powers since their faux alliance, as he did with the Stygian spider. Dorian remains in control of his mind, but pretends that Maeve has succeeded in controlling him. In doing so, he gains control of Maeve's mind instead. Dorian reveals that while he's been searching Morath for the key, he's also been weakening its foundations.
Real quick,
Dorian leaves.
What an Uno reverse.
Honestly. And
I feel like I've seen this in a movie before, but I like it.
I've seen it in lots of things, but I love the way she did this because I also love the parallel of the fact that it was someone infiltrating Dorian's mind in Queen of Shadows that made him literally beg for death.
Didn't even realize. That's such a good connection.
Ellie. But now it is the queen herself trying to infiltrate his mind, yet he's mentally strong enough to not only not let her, but then to do, like you said, an Uno reverse and take over her mind to get the job done. And that's why we love Dorian.
Wow. Love that.
Honestly, Dorian, I know there's so many people that are like crazy Team Dorian. I have seriously nothing against him. I just was never he was always just there in the storyline for me. Like there was nothing that he did or was doing that was ever like, oh my gosh, this, he wasn't Lorcan. He didn't have me salivating reading this book until this moment. This is when Dorian, it was the mic drop moment that I needed from his character for me to be like, there he is. I'm interested in this now.
Yeah.
So now I'm Team Dorian. It happened in chapter 78 of Kingdom of Ash.
I like it. I think that's awesome. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, then Dorian leaves Morath as it collapses, relinquishing control over Maeve's mind after stealing her ability to make portals. Also, that's just like the cherry on top. Not only did he infiltrate her mind, destroy Morath, all that stuff, as he was leaving, he's like, and I'll take that. Her ability. That was so impressive.
That to me is confusing. Not in the sense I don't know how you did that, but that it seems the writing of his power is inconsistent. Yeah. But again, we just have to chalk it up to raw magic, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to ignore it. We're going to ignore it though, because I don't want anything to ruin this little scene for me.
Okay. So I'll do that.
Irene offers to heal Elide's foot if they survive the war. The Rook Riders find Vernon in the mountains, who has information that Orynth has been conquered by Erewhon and that Maeve has allied with the Volking against Harrison. Vernon also knows that 100,000 soldiers march on Orynth and that the Iron Teeth Legion, formerly stationed in the Farian Gap, is also on its way. Aelin chains Vernon in a locked room to avenge his horrendous treatment of Elide, causing him to likely die of starvation. And so we're going to end on a high with this icky Vernon being sentenced to death alone, and a long, slow, and lonely death.
There it is. Yeah, the 100,000 soldiers coming with the Iron Teeth, that is the full armada. Like, that is, to me, I was like, this is the final battle. This is going to be the slaughter.
This impressed you. 10,000? No. Honestly, 15,000?
Change.
What is that, a Wednesday? But 100,000 with the whole Iron Teeth Legion? Ellie is impressed, everyone. That's what it takes. I'm
impressed. My dad calls small things peanuts. And so, have you ever heard that? Yeah, he'll be like,
anything that's
I don't want these peanuts. Not small, yes. Physically small, but like small numbers, small, you know. If we're like, this costs like $1, he's like, oh, it's peanuts.
Yeah.
So, 10,000 peanuts. 100,000.
I don't want that army.
Walnuts.
Can we even walnuts? Can we even call that an army? Peanuts. But 100,000 plus an entire legion of Iron Teeth witches. That'll move the chains. Walnuts.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's all we have today, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to join our Patreon. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
We will, like Ellie said, we will have a bonus episode.
If you're wondering how do I join it, let me tell you here. You can click the link in our Instagram. We will have a post about it, and you can type it on the Google. Easy peasy.
Type it on the Google. Everyone, if you're here, that means we all like reading, which means that we know letters. So just put all those letters into the Google, and you'll find it.
L.A.M.E Book Club Podcast, Patreon. Done deal.
Done
all right.
Deal.
Love you all. Bye. Have a great week.